What was I going to say? I think you're the first person I've interviewed that I didn't know personally. So this is you're like the first stranger.
Uh-oh.
What is up, everybody? I am Jason Trost, the host of the Business of Betting podcast. I am joined today by Jed Corenthal. He is the CMO of a company called Phenix Real Time Solutions. I'm really excited to have him on. They're working on real-time content, which is very important in the value chain of sports betting. And we're going to talk about all things sports content. We're going to talk about what their secret sauce is and what they're bringing to the party. So first of all, welcome to the podcast, Jed.
My pleasure to be here. Thanks, Jason.
Where in the world are you?
I am in Connecticut, Westport, Connecticut.
The good that's probably the good side of Connecticut. I'm from the bad side of Connecticut.
It's a pretty nice state. There's a lot of water here, so that's a good thing.
It's what I always located myself in Connecticut by the exit number. I think, what is Westport, like 20, 25?
Westport is 18 on 95.
Okay.
Yeah, we're like about an hour from New York City.
I grew up exit 73.
Oh yeah, so you're quite a bit up. Yeah. Okay.
I'm Mohegan Sun territory.
Yes, that's right.
So cool. Well, why don't you introduce yourself, how you got into the sports betting industry and what you do at Phenix?
Sure. Yeah, I've been in sort of the sports and music space for a long time. I worked at Sony for 12 years. I was at the NFL for a number of years. And for the past 10, 12 years, I've been an entrepreneur, started a couple of companies, sold one, and got into the OTT space originally consulting with a friend of mine, and then got a call from one of Phenix's investors who I happen to know, and was telling me about the company and the technology that the company was building, and just seemed like a really interesting and compelling proposition in terms of the goal was to create real-time streaming for people. So kind of took a little bit of a leap of faith, and 6 years later I'm still here, and we have a successful company that's well funded. We have a number of clients around the world, from Verizon to Stats Perform and Racecourse Media Group, to Sinclair and Bally's. We're just rocking and rolling here, just delivering real-time streaming to people all over the world.
So when you say real-time streaming, is there a data component, or is it video and audio?
All three, actually. So our platform is able to synchronize and deliver video, audio, and data, all in sync and all in real time. And we use the term real time rather than live, because live comes with some delays. Like if you watch any broadcast that you watch on your television, has about a 7 to 15 second or so delay because of language or wardrobe malfunctions or things of that nature. And then when you add, if you're streaming the content, if you add, whatever the streaming provider is, you could be 30, 40, 50 seconds behind the field of play. So we deliver those streams in real time. So essentially about a half second behind the field of play. So it's as though you're at the stadium.
When I was growing up in this industry, the at least from my memory, the company that kind of pioneered a lot of the real time sports data was a company called Running Ball, and I believe their secret sauce was they sent people to the stadium and they had cell phones or something in their pocket, and they would be watching the game and doing that.
Really
what is the technology that you guys use? Like, do you do deals with the stadiums? Do you do deals with the teams? Do you pay college kids to go watch sports? How does your product work?
Well, first of all, what you just said still happens in a lot of cases. People still have people at games and recording data and sending that to their mothership. So no, we are just a technology platform. We're like a pipe or power company. So we work with content owners, rights holders, anybody who essentially has rights to the content, and they use us to stream that content to their their apps, their websites, wherever they want to stream it. So we kind of serve as as their streaming provider, if you will, to the content that they have rights to. So we're not a content company, we're not a data company. We take all those feeds in and then serve them up to wherever they want us to distribute it. Cell phone, mobile, laptop, connected TV, game console, wherever.
So what's an example rights holder that you guys have a deal with?
So I'll give you one since you're in the UK. We stream about 80% of all of the horse racing in the UK and Ireland through a few companies we work with. One is called SIS, Sports Information Systems, and the other is RMG, or Racecourse Media Group. And the data, which you referred to before, comes from a company called Stats Perform, as well as the video streams. So we pick up the signal from the racetracks and the production trucks and take that signal all through our cloud and then distribute it to the sportsbooks all over Europe. I mean, we've probably integrated into like 50 sportsbooks, like Bet365 and Paddy Power and Sky Bet and Ladbrokes and Coral and you name it, we're pretty much there. So if you're watching horse racing on your sportsbook, most likely those streams are being powered by us.
Okay. So let's take a UK horse racing example and get into the weeds.
Like Cheltenham or Aintree, some of those big events we do.
Okay. So, so if you do a deal, I don't know, do you have a deal with the Jockey Club? It's just popping in my head, but do you do the Jockey
No,
Club?
we're actually, it's funny, we're talking to them about a lot of stuff. So yeah.
Okay. What's the other big one? It's called Arena, I think, right? There's two big the track companies in the UK. Anyway, yeah. So you have a deal with the track or the owner of the track,
right? We have a deal with the company that owns, or who has the rights to like 80 tracks.
So do you do a deal with the SISs of the world and the PA Sports of the world?
Yes. So we do the deal with SIS, we do the deal with RMG. That's right.
Okay. And are they your cameras or are they their cameras? And
No. No. We're not a video production company. So they handle all the video production. So it's their cameras, and then we pick up the feed from the cameras in some cases. Yeah.
Okay. And you take that feed, you send it to the mothership, and then you distribute it to their clients on their behalf.
Correct. And in this case, their clients are sportsbooks.
Got it. And do you guys have other clients besides sportsbooks?
Absolutely. So in the States, we work with Verizon, which is a big telecom operator, and they have rights to a lot of content like the NFL, NBA, the Indianapolis 500 we just streamed for them. So yeah, so for them, there's no betting involved. It's just streaming, whatever their content is, the games themselves, and we distribute that typically on their Verizon app.
And in this space, how many competitors do you have, give or take?
Not many. Real-time streaming is growing, but there are only, very few companies that are in this space. And we're the only ones that have been able to prove scale, meaning we're the only ones that have streamed to, 500,000 people at once, maintaining real-time latency.
What gives you your advantage? Would you say is it a technology advantage? Is it a software advantage? Is it a relation? Like, what is your company's secret sauce?
I would say all the above, but for the most part, we have technology that's just more advanced and just deeper in terms of what we do. So our founder is brilliant, and he's built this platform from the ground up, and we do things a little bit differently. So the approach that we take enables us to scale to essentially an unlimited number of users right from day one.
Got it. And you said in the beginning that you guys do sports data. Like, can you talk a little bit about? I get that you're taking content from an owner.
Right. We don't have the data. We aggregate. We take the data from companies like Stats Perform or Sport Radar or IMG Arena or Genius. And so we have three channels: audio, video, and data. So we take all the content from those three channels and distribute them to wherever they want us to distribute it.
Right, mainly in a B2B function.
It is. We are a B2B company, right?
Yeah. And do you do any data origination yourselves, or is it
No.
all packaging other data that people have?
Correct.
Got it. Right. So now, the pipes utility analogy is coming into focus now. So that's making
right.
sense.
Yeah.
Cool. So what do you think that, like, from your perspective, what is the future of sports data? Because you're in a very, particular and important niche of delivering the data. Where do you see data going vis-a-vis sports betting?
Well, I think one of the things that we see as starting to take hold a little bit and will grow is the aspect of micro betting or micro wagering, where the typical definition of in-play betting has been, will Chelsea score more goals in the second half than Arsenal did? Or in the U.S., will LeBron James score more points in the fourth quarter than he did in the third quarter? In-play bets like that, where there's really no time constraint involved. We see it changing to every play. If there's a penalty called in a football or soccer match, will the player score a goal right then and there? Will LeBron James hit the 2 free throws that he's about to go take because there was just a foul called? Will, I don't know, Patrick Mahomes throw a touchdown on the next play in the football game? So, betting on essentially every play in a game is the only way you can do that is if you have, not only real-time video, but real-time data. So we're able to match that video with, typically, as you know, the betting is done on data because the data comes in much faster. But because we can deliver the video at the same time as the data, now you can move from what's considered a bet and watch product, where you bet and then have to watch elsewhere, to a watch and bet, where on the same application, you can watch the game and bet on the game in real time.
So I have, I guess, a few different lines of questioning about that. So, one of the things I've noticed was that when you go and try to negotiate with a rights holder, let's say I want to offer UK, stream horse racing to a UK audience, you go do a contract, but you can't then take that video feed and show it to people in Malta or Ireland or the US. It's very local. So as an operator, I always found it very frustrating that trying to negotiate with rights holders becomes a web of very different layers of coverage. And generally speaking, the sports that people want to see are too expensive, or they've already have exclusive rights. So you end up with the crappy sports in the local jurisdiction. I don't know if you have any why don't we pause there? Do you have any comments on that?
I would say that a lot of what you're saying is true. I mean, the sports books in the UK do far more streaming than the sports books in the US. It's still somewhat nascent here in the States. And part of that is because of you just said, exactly what you just said, and that is the bigger sports. They sell all those rights to the broadcasters. So if I'm, FanDuel or DraftKings, some of the bigger sports books here, I don't have access to those rights unless I have to, unless I want to go buy them from the broadcaster. And they're, God knows how much. So that's why you don't see the NFL or the NBA, on these sports books at this point, because it's too expensive, so we see other sports, to your point. I do think ultimately that will slightly change. I think some of the bigger leagues will either carve out some rights for sports books or hold them to sell them themselves. The Indian Premier League was very interesting to me because they're the first big property to have split their rights. They recently had a tender where they sold linear rights to Disney Star India for $3 billion, and then they sold streaming rights separately to Viacom 18. And I think I'm a little surprised we haven't seen that a little bit more. It's something I would have thought was going to happen more often. But I do think we're going to see that more, where streaming rights may be held back to some extent, and even those can be split between OTT providers and sportsbooks. So it can get it's going to get very confusing potentially.
So what about the scenario where you rightly point out that the live, quote unquote, live broadcast is, between 10 and 60 seconds late, and real time can be like, let's say, second or half a second. Don't you think the OTT linear providers will be annoyed that the Sportsbook stream shows the touchdown before CBS shows the touchdown? Don't you have issues with that?
Yeah, I do, and they're going to have to deal with that at some point, because at some point, this 10, 20, 30-second delay is it's unacceptable. And you don't, it used to be you didn't really have much of a choice. The technology was the technology, and everybody used the same sort of legacy, what's known as HLS technology, and there was not much you can do about it. But now you can do something about it. So
what does HLS
I think
stand
the providers, it's HTTP live streaming. It was an Apple-based product developed about 20 years ago, and it actually wasn't even developed for video. It was developed for data storage, but it was pressed into action for video. And now pretty much every broadcaster and big company, Facebook, YouTube, all uses a form of that. And because of the way the video is delivered, comes with delays. And again, for the longest time, there was nothing else you could do. So that was what you had. But now, companies like us are able to deliver the stream in real time, and there's no need to have 20-second delays anymore. So you're right. The sports books ultimately will have an advantage. And if you want to watch your game, in real time, in some cases, you may have to go to the sports book until some of these OTT providers make a switch on their technology.
As the pipes, as you called your business, do you get frustrated by this patchwork of rights, or do you just think that's par for the course? And
well, I worked at the NFL for a long time, so I know how rights are distributed and broken up, and it's a challenging, complicated game. So but you're right, it is frustrating. I think for many it can be frustrating. We have a good understanding of it and know where what we can and can't do. We can only really work with rights holders because we deal in the video space. So if you don't have the rights to the video rights, there's nothing really we can do. So it's actually pretty simple for us.
There was a business called Cobain. Have you ever heard of them?
Cobain?
Cobain, kind of like Kurt Cobain. I don't know if it's
no, I never have.
same.
I never have heard of them. No.
There was a business. It was a product designed for bookmakers, and it was a B2B product. And I want to say Perform bought them, or a big data company ended up buying them. But what they did was they streamed real time. They had the real time feed that didn't jump through all the TV networks, so that the bookmakers would have a quote unquote real time. I mean, in your world, it'd still be pretty slow, but in the last 10 years, it's faster than the broadcast feed, where the bookmaker could see this stuff. It was low fi feeds. You didn't have to deal with rights holders because you weren't broadcasting. It was just a B2B product. But I thought I always thought that was an interesting way to kind of solve this problem of the rights holders having, and then the bookmaker can use this fast data to have a better experience. Now the consumer will lose out because the consumer can't see the feed. But to your point, you could sort of enable micro betting from a data video feed management perspective.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some micro betting that exists now, at least in the U.S., just on the data. And there's a company in the U.S. called Simple Bet that has done some interesting work with, I think it's both DraftKings and FanDuel. Not 100% sure, but I think where you can, in some cases, you were able to go on their app and bet on each pitch or things of that nature. You couldn't see anything because there wasn't any streams, but it was just, so because it was just the data. But I mean, look, there's a ton of research that shows, when you're people betting on the game, they're going to watch the game longer, they're going to spend more time with it. So, I mean, it's a natural progression that once the sports book gets the ability to not only handle the data, but also the video of a particular game, fans are going to stay with it and they're going to bet more. And that's the goal of the book, is to get more transactions. So I don't think there's any question that will be the case.
Do you have examples of bookmakers using your feeds now for micro betting, or that's
so there's a company in the US called Rush Street Interactive, and we're starting to work with them on some sports. We're streaming some highlight. We've got one or two other sports that they're about to launch on their apps. They oversee books. Bet Rivers and Play Sugar House are the two sports books that they operate. We're also about to announce a very big deal with a broadcaster and a betting partner to stream more sort of NHL and NBA content through that betting app. So we're very excited about that. I can't say who yet, but we're probably about a month or so away from making that announcement. And that's going to really, I think that's going to really turn some eyeballs into, changing habits, because it's the old story. Once one falls, then typically the others have to look at it and say, well, if they're doing it, maybe we should be doing it. Or at least that's what we hope.
so in this NBA NHL example, is that this potential deal that you haven't announced, is that you will be streaming the NHL and the NBA live, sorry, I know live is the wrong word. Real time to an American audience.
App. Yeah. Yes, in the betting app.
Okay, so this will be. Will this be like kind of the first real sport that is getting broadcasted locally?
It's going to be the first real time watch and bet product in the U.S.
Okay. It's interesting that I mean, to me the challenge is. I mean, this is my perspective. To me, the challenge is less about the technology and it's more about the rights, because it's so hard to get this stuff. What did Amazon pay for the NFL, and et cetera,
a lot.
Et cetera.
Over $1 billion a year.
I about fell off my chair when they announced the recent Big Ten deal. Like it's crazy.
I know.
Business.
Unbelievable.
Even the Big Ten is. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I know. I don't disagree with you in terms of, the fact that it's a big rights issue. There's no doubt that rights play a big part of what's going on. But once you have the rights, then you have to figure out what to do with them. And
how do you guys view yourself next to a BetRadar or a BetGenius? Do you guys feel like you're competitors, or are you complementary?
Well, we're not really competitors because they can't stream in real time. So, their deal, they know that their technology is slower from a betting standpoint, that, they're 8 to 10 seconds behind. So it just, if you really want to build the betting business, especially the micro betting business, you can't be 2 seconds behind, let alone 8 or 10. So, so we talk to them where they're testing our technology. I think that ultimately all of them will use our technology over time. I don't think they have much of a choice, frankly, only because, why should I as a consumer have to wait and not if I'm a bettor, why should I not be able to do it right away?
Awesome. Is there anything else you would like to share, what you think about the sports betting industry?
Well, you and I talked offline about the states and, how legislation and all that kind of stuff. I think in the U.S. we kind of hit a bit of a lull in terms of states, and it's kind of remarkable to me that states don't pass this legislation, because it's definite money coming into them that I can't understand. I know the tribes have a lot of political power, and that has something to do with it in certain states. But it's remarkable to me that, not almost every state. I mean, look, Utah is probably never going to pass a betting law, but 45 states should have sport. I mean, at this point, whether you like it or not is irrelevant. It's a fact of life, and how they don't pass it is a little surprising to me, because it's, all these states are looking for money any way they can. It's an easy way to get it.
I totally agree with that. And I also don't think that there's any reason to ban it. It's as long as it's carefully regulated and taxed appropriately, let adults do what they want to do. I think
they're doing it anyway, right? I mean, on the block, they're doing it anyway. So, just make it legal.
Yeah, completely agree. Awesome. Well, thanks very much for coming on, Jed, and talking about your business. It sounds very interesting. I definitely think that it's no secret that data and video and real time and all that stuff is going to play a bigger and bigger role in sports. I was rewatching Moneyball the other day, and it just reminds you of how sports are becoming more about data and math and science.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And
I love that movie.
It's a fantastic movie. And you intersect betting, which is all about stats and data. It's definitely gonna be, the industry is gonna keep growing. Awesome. Well, thanks very much for coming on, and hope you have a great day.
Enjoyed it. Thanks, Jason.
Okay. Cheers.